So we're going to get started. I'm Noor Bashara from Upcycled Design School, and I'm really excited to introduce Christine Daal. She is the founder of Fashion Angel Warrior. And so she has a consulting agency where she offers classes on starting your own fashion brand and all kinds of resources like that. And I'm going to let her properly introduce herself and take it from here.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, Noor, so much for having me. I am super excited to be here. I can't wait to share with all of you. We're going to talk about 4 easy steps to starting an upcycled fashion line. So I'll give you a little bit of background on me for those of you who aren't familiar. I have been in the fashion industry for over 15 years. I graduated from FIT with a bachelor's degree in fashion design, and then quickly started working my way up. I became a head designer by the age of 24, VP of design and merchandising, all before the age of 30. Loved what I was doing, hated the whole Devil Wears Prada nonsense that kind of goes on in the fashion industry, and decided to leave my full-time job, start my own fashion line. That did very well. We sold out of our first retail store in 2 weeks. I sold over 100 units of my first one style in my first month. I was profitable right away, which is not normal. And then people started coming to me, asked me if I could help them start a fashion line. And that's when I realized this is really my true calling, my true passion. I've always loved helping others succeed. And so I started my fashion consulting agency, Fashion Angel Warrior. And so what we do is we help both startups and established designers pretty much every step of the way to start and grow profitable businesses. So whether you need help with social media, branding, design, development, sourcing factories, fabrics, costing, production, sales, marketing, PR, social media advertising. We really are kind of a one-stop shop for fashion designers, and we've had a lot of client successes. So today I want to talk about 4 easy steps to launching a upcycled line. And we're going to talk about 4 things that you can do right now that won't cost you a penny. The #1 way to build a following, the true definition of commitment, what a sales funnel is and why you need one, and so much more. If you do have any questions as we go along, type them in the chat, type them in the question feature if there's one down there on your Zoom, and we'll definitely make sure to answer your questions, whether we answer them during or at the very end. I'll save some time for sure. Okay, great. So how many of you, and I want this to be very interactive as well. You guys will see I'm very interactive. So please participate with me in the chat. So how many of you are bootstrapping your line? You want to really get it started on a bootstrapping, low budget type thing, right? You have a very low budget. Type in the chat there and just kind of let me know, raise your hand. A lot of us, I find, have a lot of dreams and goals, right? But we don't always have the funds to really get there, especially right now we're in a pandemic, things are tough, right? So what if I told you there's actually a way that you can get started for free with your fashion line? And yes, literally with no money, you can get started right now, this very minute. And that's what we're going to tell you all about today. But what I am about to tell you, I can guarantee most of you will not do. How do I know this? Because I've shared these secrets with thousands of startup designers, and only a handful of them are actually doing it. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day, if you're not serious, you're not committed, you're not willing to do what I like to call whatever it takes, you don't have a chance. So I challenge you, this is the last part of 2021, make a commitment to do these 4 things right now. Definition of commitment is doing what you said you would do long after the mood you set it in has left you. So these 4 things I'm going to tell you right now aren't going to cost you anything, and you can do them right now. Do you want to know what they are? Awesome. So I'm going to go right into them. So #1, the first thing that you can do is market research. So we talk a lot about market research in our group coaching program, which I'll talk more about at the end. And it's really important to do your homework. You need to know everything that's going on, past, present, everything in your specific market, right? So for you guys, you're all doing an upcycled line. You want to know everything there is to know about upcycling, right? What's been going on for the last 5 years, the last 10 years, and then what might be coming down the future. And you want to look at things like, who is your target customer? Who are your direct competitors? What's the price point? What's your USP? What's really going to make you stand out from your competition, right? You want to know who you're selling to, what's already been done. That way you can really make yourself stand out. There's no point in starting another fashion line unless there's a reason that makes you different, right? If you're going to create the same thing, let's say that Noor is creating, what's going to make me buy from you? I can just go to Noor, right? So you've got to be different from what's out there. And if you do enough market research, you're going to start to notice different patterns, and you're going to become more educated so that you can know what you really need to produce and what's actually going to sell at the end of the day. You might have something that you think looks beautiful, but if nobody will buy it, what's the point in creating it, right? So if you really want to be sustainable and green, right, and you're trying to be better for the environment, don't create something unless you know for sure it's actually going to sell and people want it. Otherwise, it technically is waste, right? So there's a number of free and low cost tools that we teach inside of our program to teach you how to do this market research. And it's literally the first step, and it's not going to cost you a dime to do. So you've got to put in the time, and everything else, once you get the market research down, everything else is based on that, right? Your website, you're going to create a website based on what your competitors' websites might look like, or what everyone else in your space is doing, right? Your marketing, how are you going to know which social media platforms to be on if you don't know who you're targeting and where they're actually hanging out? Your girl might be on Pinterest, or your girl might be on Instagram, or your girl might be on Twitter. You need to find that out ahead of time so that you know where to spend your time, right? And then channels of distribution, depending on what, or who I should say, you're going to target, might depend on how you're going to find them, right? Are you going to decide to do online? Are you going to decide to do maybe a third-party website like an Etsy of some sort? Are you going to decide to sell to boutiques or large retail stores, right? You want to find out who your target customer is and where are they shopping and where's the best place to find them, right? Okay, so number one, definitely market research. Number two is building a following. So after you've done your research, it's really time to build that following. You want to have a tribe of people before you launch so that by the time you do launch, everyone's going to buy your product. You're going to get profit. You're going to get sales day one, and you're going to be profitable. This is what I like to call the K factor. So everyone knows Kim Kardashian and all the Kardashians, right? So I have a question for you. Which came first? Did the Kardashians become famous first, or did they start a fashion and beauty line first? Who can tell me? Type it in the chat. Which came first? They started a line or they became famous? Okay, so Denise said famous. Anyone else want to take a guess? I know we've got a couple people on here. All right, Denise, you are correct. They became famous first. Why? Because once you're famous, you can sell anything that you want, right? Kim Kardashian could decide tomorrow to come out with a donut line, Kim K Donuts, and everyone would go to the store and buy their Kim K donut. Why? Because it's Kim Kardashian, right? So you want to kind of do the same thing. This is what I call the K factor. You want to become famous first. And it doesn't need to be you yourself if you're not going to be the face of your brand, but your brand needs to be famous, right? People need to know about you. You want to have fans that are dying to get your product so that, again, by the time you launch your website and have product to sell, you can get sales day one. We actually literally built a client's entire Instagram page for 9 months, posted all this content, grew his following to 4,000 followers before he even had product and before he even launched. So a lot of people think, oh, I need to wait until I have product in order to start marketing. And that's actually not correct. If you really understand marketing, you'll understand how to market without having a product. And then that way, when you do have your product, you're ready to go and you can get sales right away. So who wants to know the number one way to build a following? And if you'd like, take a guess in the chat, because I'd love to know what you guys think. What's the number one way to build a following, to build a tribe, to build your audience? Okay, Denise says social media. I love it, Denise. You're participating. Anyone else want to take a guess? Free content, Noor says, yes. Okay, so I will give you the answer. The number one way to build your following is definitely emailing your email list, right? How many of you have already started building an email list? Type it in the chat if you have. How many people are on your email list? I ask this question all the time to everyone who inquires working with us, and I'm so shocked at how few are actually doing email marketing. Email marketing is still 40 times more effective than any other marketing out there. And if you think about it, it's the only guaranteed delivery option that the internet still has left, right? all of the social media platforms now have algorithms, right? And every time the algorithm changes, it's harder and harder for you to reach your followers, right? So with email, the readers will receive everything. Yes, sometimes it might go to their spam or something like that, but they'll receive it, and they receive it in the order of receipt, and no one company controls it. And so if tomorrow your Instagram went away or your page got taken down off of Facebook or something happened to your social media, because by the way, you don't own that, right? You would still have your email list. Emails are so valuable because you can keep them, you own them, right? Now, obviously people can unsubscribe and that sort of thing, but the gist of it is that you own it, right? So start building your email list as soon as possible. And all you have to do is put a little pop-up on your website, a button on social media. You can have a landing page, a coming soon page, and we teach all about this inside our programs. So that's the number one way to build a following. The second way to build a following, which somebody did not say, is blogging. So blogging is really one of the top ways to start driving people over to your website. So you want to have content on your website to tell Google that you're relevant, right? And when people are searching things in Google, you want your website to be found. So it's really important that you do a lot of the SEO and keyword research and all that sort of thing to make sure that you're actually found and that your blogs are actually keyword rich so that you are found. But every time you're updating your blog on your website, you're basically telling Google like, hey, I'm relevant, move me to the top of the list, right? So you can literally increase your traffic overnight just by blogging. And we actually increased our traffic over 500% by blogging consistently. And we started out probably in the beginning of my business, I was only blogging once a month. Then we went to twice a month. Then we went to once a week. And eventually we went to twice a week. And it literally changed everything in my business. It really helps you to rank and get you to be found in Google. 70% of our website traffic literally comes organically from our blogs. And it's also one of the ways that you can grow your email list is through blogging. So they do work hand in hand. So writing a blog is just the first step. And then the second one, you want to know, again, how to do that keyword research, how to do the title research to make sure that your blogs actually get found. And then the third step of blogging is that you want to know where to promote it, right? You don't want to just have it sit on your website and nobody know about it. You actually want to post it on social media, post it out to your email list, right? All these things that you can do to get people to find it, right? Now, how many of you, as much as you love to blog, can't find the time to do it? Raise your hand, type it in the chat. A good blog post literally can take anywhere from 8 to 9 hours, depending on what you're talking about, how much research you may have to do, right? Something along those lines. So there's a lot of ways that we teach how to write a blog. And actually, believe it or not, 6 of the ways that we teach, you don't have to write it yourself. So don't think that, oh my gosh, I don't have time to blog. I get it, Christine. This is what's going to increase the SEO, but who has time to do blog writing? I would say probably there's over 150 blogs on my website, and I've probably only written about 25% of them myself. So don't think that just because you don't have time to blog that you can't do it. There's actually ways that you can write a blog without you having to be the one to physically write it. So there's some little tricks there. And then the third way to build your following, somebody did say, I think Denise got it, is social media. So Instagram is probably the main platform most of you are going to be using. There's also Pinterest, Facebook, TikTok, and all of these platforms. The great thing is it costs you nothing. Yes, you can invest in things like social media advertising, and you can hire someone to manage your page for you, but you don't have to technically, right? There's no fee to be a part of these platforms. It costs nothing. It just costs your time, right? And like I mentioned before, you can literally get started with social media before you even have a product to sell. We literally teach over 25 things that you can do before you actually have a product. And the strategy that I teach, literally we had a client use the strategy and she went from 2 to 22,000 followers in just a year, just from using the strategy that we teach on Instagram. So it's really important that you are not just posting, but that you have an actual strategy behind it, right? You understand how to use the hashtags and locations, and you have an aesthetically pleasing feed, and you know how to tag people and all of these different things. You know, you have a business page on Instagram, not a personal page, so that you can have your email box on there and people can actually email you and all of that great stuff. So really, really important that you have that strategy behind your Instagram. And if you do need help creating the content for your Instagram, we can help. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. We also had a client, I forgot to mention, go from an average of 10 comments per post to over 70 comments per post, just from changing the pictures on her feed. So if you think that the pictures don't matter or that the order of them doesn't matter and it doesn't need to be super pretty, you're mistaken, because literally we've seen overnight changes happen just from changing the pictures and like the order and how the feed is kind of laid out. So really, really important. Okay, the third area that you can get started on, the third step to starting your upcycled fashion line, is to strategize your sales funnel. So before you even start manufacturing and before you even start producing anything, why not think about how you're actually going to sell the line, right? If you're selling online, most of you, I'm assuming you are, because these days that's the number one way to get started. You're going to definitely 100% need a sales funnel. So what is a sales funnel? Basically, it's a series of steps that kind of guide your visitors or your browsers from becoming a browser to a buyer, right? You want them to be a visitor, convert from a visitor to a customer. You're taking them on a journey, right? So think of it like, the easiest example I can say is think of it like dating, right? Typically, you don't go on a first date and have the person ask you to marry them, right? There's like a process of dating till you get to the point that, okay, now you're ready for marriage, right? So it's the same thing with your customers, right? You're turning this cold lead, somebody that doesn't know you, has never heard of your brand before, into a warmer lead. Okay, now they're getting to know you, they're getting to like you, they eventually will trust you, right? And then once they trust you, now they're a hot lead and they're going to buy from you. And then hopefully they're a repeat customer and they come back and buy from you more and more again, right? So think about like what a funnel actually looks like, right? So it's wide at the top and it gets more narrow at the bottom. So at the top, you want a ton of people, right, coming into the funnel. And then as they go down through the funnel, right, the not so serious ones kind of get weeded out and only the serious ones are really left at the bottom of the funnel, right? So we need to have a way to first get those potential customers, right, into the top of the funnel. And the best way to do that is to offer some kind of freebie, some kind of free offer, free guide, something that you can offer that's valuable, right, to get their email address. So in this case, I'm specifically going to talk about growing your email list, right? So on your website right now, you could have some kind of opt-in. And if you go to our website, you'll see fashionninjawarrior.com. You'll see we have tons of opt-ins all over the website. You can sign up for a free fabric sourcing guide. If you click on a blog, there's a little sign up at the bottom. If you click on one of the pages, you'll see free trainings you can sign up for, right? There's like signups everywhere. So you kind of want to do the same thing with your line, with your website. But at the very least, you want to have a pop-up box on the homepage, on the coming soon page, whatever you have, and give someone something that's of value to them, right? So what's going to make them want to leave their email address? It's really easy to get somebody to follow you on social media, not as easy to get their email address, right? So it's got to be something that's super valuable. So all of you are starting upcycled lines, right? So it might be something like 10 ways to upcycle random things in your house that normally you would throw away, right? Or 8 ways to make your home green. Here's some products you can substitute that are greener for your home or something, right? So something that's going to deal with your target customer. Obviously, your target customer is into upcycling. They're into things being green. They're into recycling. They're into sustainability, right? So what's some kind of information, some kind of guide that you could give them that's going to make their life easier, right? That's going to make them want to be like, oh my gosh, I need this right now. I need to enter my email address so that I can get this free guide, right? And those are just a few examples. Obviously, you can start brainstorming ideas. You can even poll your audience if you have one already and see what they would like best. You can even try out different things on your website to see what works best and which one gets more email addresses. So this is why, again, goes back to the first thing we mentioned, the market research. It's important to know who your target customer is, because you're not going to know what kind of guide to offer if you don't know right away who that target customer is, right? So the idea is, you know, you have this online website, first goal is to get the traffic, right? You want those people coming in at the top of the funnel. So this can be through blogging, through social media. Those are just two of the many, many ways that you can drive traffic to your online store, right? And then you want to start moving them down the funnel. And so getting them on your email list really helps to kind of move them down the funnel. And then eventually the third step is they buy. And the fourth step, hopefully they become a repeat customer, right? So let's take a look at like a real life example of like what this would look like. So let's say your sales funnel starts with Instagram, right? You post your freebie. I've got this free guide, 10 ways to reuse items in your home that you would normally throw away. I'm going to post it on my Instagram. You put a link, click the link in the bio, right? In the bio, you've got a link to go to your website where they enter their email to get the freebie. Now they get the guide and you now have their email, right? Now, hopefully on the guide at the bottom or on the second page or whatever, you have some kind of call to action, or if you're already selling, you've got some kind of coupon, right? Something at the end of that freebie that's going to compel them to take another step, right? You don't just want them to read the freebie and then forget about you, right? You want them to read the freebie, say, oh my gosh, this is great, and then do something else. What next step, what action do you want them to take, right? And so hopefully you can kind of drive them back to the website to buy, right? So if you got a coupon or you've got something, right, that you put at the end of the freebie to get them to come back to your website. Now, if you don't have a product on your website, obviously you can drive them to social media. Maybe you have a really engaged Facebook group of some sort, right? Somewhere where you're providing other content, right, for them to consume in the meantime until you have your product ready, right? And in this process, you're kind of continuing to warm them up. But at the same time, you now have their email address, and hopefully you've set up an automated email sequence, and you can take them through this whole process of getting to know your brand, getting to know behind the scenes, who you are, what you're working on, right? So that eventually they will come back and buy something. Again, it's like dating. It's like a relationship, right? You have a first date, then you have a kiss, then you go on some more dates, right? Et cetera, eventually to the marriage, right? You just don't go up to a stranger and be like, hey, you want to marry me? Not going to work probably. So this is what it's like when you are just posting pictures of product over and over and over again on your Instagram or your social media, right? It basically screams to the buyer, like, buy me, buy me, buy me. They don't want to just see pictures of your product. They want to see other things that they're going to be interested in that's going to provide value to their life. And this will help them to start to know you, like you, and then eventually trust you. And then they're going to buy from you. So that's the third step, is setting up your strategy for sales and really setting up your sales funnel. And then the fourth easy step to starting your upcycled fashion line is to commit to learning. You need to be committed to learning. If you're going to be serious about making this business a real business and not just a hobby, you really want to take that time to invest in yourself and invest in your business. You know, I always say the question, you know, how many people know what a meta description is? Or how many of you know what a flat lock seam is? Or how many of you know what the average click-through rate for Facebook ads are? These are all things that really you need to know as a business owner. You know, it's not just about we need to create beautiful product. You've got to be able to sell that product at the end of the day. And if you're selling online, you now basically need to become a digital marketing expert. And a lot of people often come to us, they say, Christina, I'd love to work with you, right? But I just can't afford it right now. So first off, let me just say we're super affordable. We're geared towards startups. And so I really try to keep my prices as low as possible. We even had a student one time tell us that she looked around at all of our competitors and we literally were the most affordable. So I'm very proud of that. But it's also good to keep things in perspective, right? I spent probably $50,000 on my college education and didn't learn even a quarter of what I needed to know in order to build my fashion line, right? So make sure that you're definitely putting things into perspective. And whether you work with me or you work with Noor or you work with anyone else, it's just really important that you invest in yourself, because you are your greatest asset. And the more you invest in yourself, in your business, the better your business is going to be and the more it's going to grow. So just to recap, 4 easy steps to starting your upcycled line. Number 1, do market research. Number 2, build your following before you have product. Number 3, strategize your sales funnel. And number 4, commit to learning. So my question for all of you, who is up to the challenge? I challenge you, it's going to be a new year. 2022 is right around the corner. make a commitment to do these 4 things right now. So who's in? Who's with me? Type in the chat, I'm in, if you're ready to get started. Awesome. Nancy's in. I love it. All right, cool. So we will take any questions and I can go through the chat, Nor, or if you want to go through and ask me the questions.
Sure. Well, the question was actually from me. When you were talking about blogging, I was just commenting that I find it so much easier to come up with content for the Upcycle Design School blog because it's about education.
Okay.
Whereas I feel really stumped when it's about Norism and content centered around the clothing for some reason.
So you find it harder for the school to write a blog or harder for your line?
Harder for my line. Yeah.
Harder for your line. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. So I think they kind of can go hand in hand, right? Like probably some of the educational stuff can be also put on your blog for the Norism line, right? But also, because oftentimes people who follow a fashion brand, they also kind of secretly want to be their own designer, right? So they're kind of into that stuff too. But also think back to who's your target customer, right? They're probably into everything being green, sustainable, maybe they're vegan, right? So blogs about any of that stuff, right? Top 10 vegan recipes for lasagna or something, right? Or whatever the case may be, something that deals with their lifestyle, right? That's going to enhance their life. That's going to make them come back to the blog. It doesn't have to necessarily be about fashion, right? It can be anything in their life, food, fitness, health, wellness, right? Here's my favorite oil diffuser and natural oil products or something, right? Anything that would deal with their target, with their lifestyle for your target customer is going to make them want to come over to the blog and read about it. And then they'll be like, oh, and by the way, there's a fashion line here that you can also buy something, so don't always make it fashion related necessarily. It can be more than that.
Just, it's the lifestyle around the person that buy that kind of product.
Yeah. Is that helpful?
Yes. Yeah, that's very helpful.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. This is so informative. Must go. Awesome. Yeah. Be sure to check back. We'll post this on YouTube, I think, at the end.
Yes, the recording will be on YouTube and it will be on the blog with notes and links as well.
How do you research your target customer? What am I looking for? Nancy, great question. So easiest way to get started is Instagram. I love social media because you can pretty much see like everything these days because everyone's posting stuff, right? So easiest way to find your target customer is figure out who your top 10 competitors are. And when I say competitors, like direct competitors, right? So if you're doing like an upcycled fitness line, Nike is not a competitor of yours, right? Their marketing budget and they've been around forever, right? You can't really compete with like a Nike, right? So find like the smaller brands if you can. If you can't, of course, you can always go with the bigger brands, but try to really find those smaller brands that are around the same, kind of startup level as you a little bit. Maybe they're just a little bit further down the line, but they're not huge, right? And so go to their Instagram, see who is following them, and just start clicking around, right? Like, oh, Sue is following them. Let's see who Sue is. And you just click on her profile. And then Sue maybe has a picture of what she ate today. And, oh, she has a dog and she likes to go to cycling class. And, you just kind of get a feel for like, what is Sue's life about, right? And then you go to the next follower and maybe it's Jane, and Jane likes to drink coffee and she has a cat and so on and so forth. And you just kind of go through a bunch of them until you start to see trends, right? Do more of them have dogs or do more of them have cats? Do more of them like running versus, I don't know, cycling or something, right? Like start to kind of gather the similarities behind all of these people and what they're really into and what their day-to-day looks like, right? Do they work? Do they work from home? Do they work in an office? What type of clothing are they wearing when they're posting pictures? Do they have kids? Are they moms? Are they not moms, right? Are they single? Are they married? That's probably the easiest way and one of the free ways to kind of snoop around and figure out who your target customer really is. Does that help, Nancy? Hopefully Nancy's still on.
This is Nancy. So what do we do
Hi.
with that? Why does it matter if my customer has a dog?
Well, so you might want to write a blog post on 10 upcycled things to get your dog this Christmas or something, right? Like,
Okay.
so, and then that's going to attract your target customer over to your website and then eventually hopefully buy something from you. So it can be used for blogs. It can be used for your social media content. You might even want to use it for your fashion line. Maybe you never thought about creating a dog product before you wanted to create products for women, but now you're like, hey, I've noticed all my target customers have dogs and there's actually no recycled dog collars or something, right? And now you create dog collars that are recycled and start selling them. So yeah, it can be used for a lot of different things. Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. I think that's all the questions I see. If you guys have any other questions, please type them in the chat, come on live. I always like to save room at the end for questions so that we can make it really interactive and I can help you as much as possible. Don't be shy. There's no silly questions. I always say better to ask it than to assume and not ask it and get it wrong. So
Do you want to talk about in more detail about what you offer with your classes?
yeah, that would be great. And then in the meantime, maybe some people will have some questions. So we do have an amazing program. It's called the Fashion Startup Intensive. And it literally takes you through A to Z, step-by-step, complete action plan of everything that you would need to launch your fashion line. So from all the market research into all the design and development, into all of the digital marketing, sales, marketing, into if you do want to sell to retailers, how do I get a buyer and all of that stuff. If you're interested in doing crowdfunding, there's even a class on crowdfunding, all the way through to production, and then sales, PR, scaling your business. So how do I scale once I've gotten my first couple of sales, but I need to get more, etc. So it's literally a complete A to Z roadmap. And so we are offering a discount just for all of you. You can take $300 off using the code 300FSI. So FSI stands for Fashion Startup Intensive. And I'll even throw in a bonus class. So you'll get our online course called Intelligent Instagram, which is the one I was talking about before, which is the strategy that we use to help a client go from 2 to 22,000 followers in just a year. That class was also featured in WWD, and it's literally going to teach you how to stop scrambling and how to start strategizing on your Instagram. It's typically not part of the FSI, so I'm going to offer it as a bonus. So you get that as a bonus plus $300 off if you sign up for the FSI before December 31st. So that is only good until the end of the year. And I'll put the link in the chat here for you so that you guys can click it. And then anybody that's on YouTube can read it in the description below. We also have, as I mentioned before, an amazing service called our Instagram Starter Pack. So if you're not sure what to be posting on your Instagram, you're like, hey, Christine, I get it that you want me to post pictures before I have a product, but I really have no idea what I should be posting. We can literally curate your entire feed for you. So it's 24 posts, 24 captions, 2 sets of hashtags. We curate everything, we give it to you, and then all you have to do is post it. So no more waiting till the last minute to figure out what should I be posting on Instagram, because you'll literally have all of your content planned out months in advance. And so that's an amazing service. It's only $275 a month, so it is super affordable. I'll paste the information right there in the chat. And then we also do manufacturing tours. So for anyone looking for a manufacturer, we have amazing tours. We do them in New York City, LA, Miami. We also do virtual ones. And we have one coming up in LA at the end of February, and we'll have more next year. So you can go to fashionintowear.com/events for all of the tours. You can email us if you're interested in any of our digital marketing services, like the Instagram Starter Pack. Obviously mention Noor so that we know where you came from. And then if you're interested in the Fashion Startup Intensive discount, definitely go to fashionintowear.com/upcycled with a D on the end to take care of that discount. And yes, we do have a free sustainability checklist. I will have to get you the link for it because I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I'll make sure I get the link to Noor so that she can give you the free sustainability guide, and we'll put that in the YouTube description as well.
I'll follow up with the email for that guide for everybody that attended today.
Yes. Awesome. Any other questions?
Can you just describe what the manufacturing tour consists of?
Yeah, so we go around all day. It's usually 6 to 8 hours long, depending on where we are and what we're doing. And we go around and visit different manufacturers. These are all vendors that we've personally worked with or have vetted or know someone who's worked with them. Our clients have worked with them. And so we have a relationship with them. We know they're trustworthy. They're going to take good care of you. They're going to offer low minimums or no minimums. So they're geared towards startups, and they're super nice people. I definitely don't work with anyone that's not nice, because there's a lot of those in this industry and we don't need to work with those. So it's really great. You'll get to see different manufacturers, how they operate, what their requirements are, what their pricing is. You'll get to ask questions. You'll see how I ask questions so that you kind of get a feel for like, how do I, interview a manufacturer when I'm looking to source for one? What questions do I ask them? And then you walk away with 25 different cheat sheets on starting the design, development, manufacturing process, along with our preferred vendor list, which has over 90 preferred vendors and suppliers that we've personally vetted. So even if you're not interested in working with any of the ones that we visit on the actual tour itself, you're still going to get a whole list, and you can literally call them up, say, hey, I was referred by Fashion Ninja Warrior, and you'll know that they're going to take really good care of you. So the tours are awesome. I love it. We get to spend the entire day together. You literally can pick my brain for 6 hours straight, which is crazy. And it's just a lot of fun, especially the in-person ones. Even the virtual ones, to be honest, are really fun. Even though they're virtual and we're on Zoom, it's really still a lot of fun. Like, we just hang out all day and talk about fashion. So it's really, really great. So yeah, if anyone's interested, definitely sign up. They do typically sell out. We do cap them. The LA one, and specifically, we are renting a van, so we can only take 12 people. Even the virtual ones, we cap it at about 18 because I want to make sure everyone gets that one-on-one time with me.
Wow, very cool. I know that's a big challenge for a lot of startup designers, is figuring out manufacturing and that whole process.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with the upcycled thing, like, I know, Noor, you could probably speak forever about difficulties with manufacturing something that's upcycled versus, buying your fabric on a roll, right? And cutting it and sewing it. It's a totally different process. And not all manufacturers will probably be open to doing it, or, even want to take it on. So it's really important that you have at least a good starting point of who do I call and how do I find a manufacturer and that sort of thing.
Yes, you're going to get a lot of no's.
Yeah,
A lot of
it can be
people,
difficult.
they don't understand it, or it's just different from their status quo every day, what they're used to. So they're just going to say no.
Yeah.
But you just have to keep trying and keep after people, keep asking until you get a yes.
Yeah, exactly. And depending on what you're doing, and how complex it is and what kind of materials you're working with, right? It may be something doable, it may not be. So you just need to explain what you're doing a little bit and see if it's a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Any other questions? Don't be shy.
Well, if there's no more questions, I would say that you guys can always follow up with Christine after this. If you think of anything later, you can reach out to her at that point. And
Definitely.
thank you so much for being
Yeah.
on our workshop this month. And as I say, I always learn so much from hosting these workshops as well. So it was an honor to have you, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Noor. It's been a pleasure. I know we connected a couple years back, and it's been awesome to just see how your fashion line has grown, how your Upcycled Design School is growing now. So it's super awesome to reconnect with you.